Hi, I'm Rick. I'm the producer and owner at Smash Bits Animation Studios in Kentucky. How do you become a 2D animator? What do you need to do to become a 2D animator? I am going to be talking about that step by step, but first I'm going to talk about what not to do, what not to expect on your path to becoming an animator. Do not expect, number one, do not expect that going to school or going to university is going to make you an animator. Going to school doesn't make you an animator, and I need you to remember that. Okay, first of all, most schools are not properly preparing people to be animators. So that's an important thing to remember. But also, don't forget the mantra that animators animate. If you animate, you're an animator. Don't forget that. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a professional animator, right? But still, if you want to become a professional animator, you are someone who animates. A lot of people are going to school getting degrees in animation, but they're not animators because they don't animate. It's not their passion. It's not what they do all day long. It's not what they really, really want. It's what they thought they wanted. But if you are not animating outside of what you were supposed to do in school, are you really an animator? That's a good question to always remember on your path to becoming an animator. There's a big part of me that believes that going to school and universities and college are, for a lot of people, just a scam. There's this whole system in our country that believes you have to go to college, otherwise you're not being properly trained. And I think that schools and universities are making so much money from that belief system. Now, that doesn't mean that all university is a scam. I'm just wanting you to consider that maybe it's not the right path for you. And I'm also not saying that it's not the right path for you. I really believe in school. I believe in higher education. Now, there are a lot of universities out there that have 2D animation programs. There's a lot of animation programs around the country. And these schools, knowing that they need to teach animation, they will hire animators to teach at their programs. But do they know what kind of people they need to hire to properly prepare you to go into the field? I see a lot of universities hiring a lot of really prestigious animators, thinking that just because they worked on Mulan or they worked on Beauty and the Beast, that somehow means that they are properly prepared to train you to be an animator. And they're not. They may know a lot about animation, but if they don't know the software that everybody's using right now, are they going to really train you for the field? I don't think they are. And in fact, when we look for new animators at our company, and when we're looking to hire out animators, we get lots of freshly grad students who don't know any of the new software, but they don't have any clue on how to use Toon Boom or Flash because their professors didn't teach them how, because they didn't know how. I have one animator that works at our company right now, and he actually took an entire class on how to use the old Xerox machine. Nobody does that anymore. Why would you teach a class on that? These professors are prestigious and they have a lot that they can teach you, but you need to teach yourself. You need to be in charge of your own education if you want to be prepared for the field that you want to go into. If you really want to do this professionally, you need to have the skills that the employers are looking for you to have now, not the skills that they were looking for 30 years ago. So don't forget that. All the studios right now, all across the world, are moving to puppet animation and are almost entirely grasped puppet animation. There's very, very few studios that still do the old traditional frame-by-frame animation, and those that do are using the puppet animation software to do it in. So it doesn't do you any good to go gung-ho on the traditional and frame-by-frame animation style and not learn the software, not know how to do puppets, not know how to rig, because all of those skill sets are being done even in the traditional stuff that's still being produced today. Number two thing not to expect, do not expect that you're going to get a job after you graduate. Don't expect that. If you think that you will graduate from an animation program, I don't care how prestigious the school is, if you think you're going to graduate and then go on to get $50,000 a year as an animator at a company somewhere, don't expect it. That is not going to happen. If you live in the United States, that is not going to happen. That might happen if you live in Canada or India or the Philippines, or if you're planning on traveling to one of those places. I mean, if you think like a capitalist for just a moment, these studios have no reason why they should hire American animators when they can pay a quarter of the price to people elsewhere. Or Canada, who has insane tax incentives that American studios just can't compete with. I do believe that the animation studios in the US are making a comeback, which is good, but not yet. And I don't think they're going to be making a full comeback in 4 years or 8 years. I think it's going to take time. And so don't expect to get a job right out of college. Now, first of all, don't forget you're probably not adequately being prepared at your school. Second of all, the market for animators, the field of animators is really competitive right now. And third, you're going to have to move to a place where you can get a job. Like if you're out in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, you're not going to get a job at Disney or Nickelodeon. You're going to have to move to Los Angeles or New York. You probably already know this. And also don't forget that most animation work is contract work. So you're not going to go and get a job at one of these studios and be there for the rest of your life, or even be there for 8 years. Contract work, you're going to go to one place for 8 months. You're going to go to another place for 12 months. You're going to go there when you're working on the project. And a lot of times they like to rehire the same people, especially if you were good, but you were working on contract as an animator. And that's important for you to consider in your plans for the future. Number 3 thing not to expect, don't expect an animation job to be fun. It's work. Now, animation's a lot of fun, but when you're doing animation and getting paid for it for somebody else, that's not always going to be fun. In fact, sometimes it's going to be really annoying. I mean, who wants to do lip sync for 40 hours? Someone has to do it. Someone has to do that. It's not always going to be fun work, and you need to expect that your first 5 years of animation isn't going to be fun. Everything is about money. Your producer makes decisions based on money. And so your job is all about money, and your job is to make sure your company is making money based off of your work. And so if you want to have a fun time as an animator, maybe you shouldn't go into it as a job and maybe just do it as a fun side thing. But you can have fun. It is probably one of the most fun jobs in the world. I will say that. But don't expect it to be fun. Expect it to be hard work. At our studio, we hire a lot of young, creative animators right out of college. And actually, I've actually had a number of times different young college graduates come to me and say, hey, I really don't enjoy this as much as I thought. Do you think that maybe a couple hours a week we could have like a creative, fun hour where we could do whatever we want? And it's like, why would I pay for that as a producer? For you to you can do that anytime you want at home. So why would I pay you on company funds to do whatever? That doesn't make any sense. That's not the mindset. And for whatever reason, animators think that that's what it's going to be like your first job, and it's not. Your first job is going to be you making lip sync for 40 hours. It's not going to be fun. Just expect that you've got to work your way up the chain to get to the more rewarding, more creative jobs. I had another young animator come right up to me right out of college, and they told me that they deliberately disobeyed the direction that their supervisor gave them because they didn't agree with the creative direction. You can't do that. That doesn't make sense. You may think that that's what your job is going to be, but you need to make sure you understand right now that this is a job just like any other job. There is more creativity in it, but that creativity grows as you work your way up the chain and become more of a leader in whatever company you work for. So to review the 3 things that you shouldn't expect, don't expect college to make you an animator. Don't expect to get a job right out of college, and don't expect animation to be fun, although it is. Let's go on to the step-by-steps on now. What do you do to become an animator? What do I do to become an animator? Let's jump into it. Number 1, animate, 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 animate. Never stop animating. That should be all that you want to do. That's all that you do. Never stop doing it. Don't just animate when you're training, or don't just animate in school. Just always, always animate. That should be your passion. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about college again. Now, first of all, realize here's a couple reasons to go to college. First of all, they will teach you some stuff. They may not teach you the software that you need to know, but you will learn certain laws and rules of how animation works. That is something that you really should know as an animator. Now, it's more important that you know the software. It's more important that you're a very skilled artist, but those are still things that you're going to learn at school just make sure you're overcompensating and learning the things outside of school that if you think that that you need to learn them. Here's another reason to go to school. People in our culture are super arrogant. People with college degrees look down on people who don't have college degrees. It's totally messed up, and it's not the way the world should work. But unfortunately, it is the way that the world works, and it's something that you need to realize as you're trying to decide whether or not to get a college degree or not. For whatever reason, you can just go on and not get a college degree. You could get a good job maybe as an animator, but there will always be that he doesn't have a college degree thing going on in the back of college degree arrogant people's minds. And so, sometimes it's just better just to get the college degree. It will give you more opportunities. And also statistically, they say that people with college degrees make almost double of what those who don't have college degrees have. Now, I don't think that's across the board, and I don't think that's very fair. I know a lot of people who have college degrees don't make anywhere close as much as those who don't. But consider it. I do think college is good. Just make sure you're directing your own education and not trusting them to teach you everything you need to know for the field. Now, look at it this way. If you were to spend the next 40 hours a week doing nothing but animating for the next 1 year, so you're basically animating as a full-time job, not getting paid for it. You're doing it on your own, but you're animating 40 hours a week for 1 year, 1 full year, and that's all you do. You're going to be way ahead of people who have a 4-year degree in animating. You're going to be way ahead of them in 1 year. Plus, you didn't have to pay for the freaking college. You got that for free because you trained yourself. So maybe that's the path for you, is just to animate. And you also will save the money. So hey, basically it's a decision that you're going to have to make based off of how much money you want to spend over the next 2 to 4 years in your education and how much of your time you want to spend over the next 2 to 4 years. But the most important thing is just never stop animating. Whether you make one decision or the other, never stop animating. We have one animator at Smash Bits, Jim Dye. All he does is draw. I mean, when we go to lunch, he's drawing on his notepad. If we're going to a party, he's drawing. He's one of the best artists I've ever worked with. He's amazing. All he ever does is draw because animating is his passion. That's all he wants to do. And that's what you need to be if you want to excel at this, especially early on in your career. And I recommend that you work on the things that you want to work on. If you want to do funny Pokemon cartoons, do funny Pokemon cartoons. If you want to do bloody, morbid death videos, I've got one person, that's all they love to do. That's good for them. They look amazing. They're great. If you want to do cute, girly monsters, do that. Do what you want to do the best that you can. And just keep doing it. Upload it on YouTube. A lot of people say upload stuff on Vimeo because you want to keep it private. No, you're an animator. It's fun to have your stuff be seen. You want to get hundreds of views on your stuff. Put it on YouTube. Maybe you'll surprise yourself. You get way more views. It's just a lot of fun. It helps you improve when you see the comments and people complain about how bad something is. Then you can improve that little something on your next video. So do what you want to do and animate and have fun. This is a fun career. And you have the most creative control when you're teaching yourself. So just do what you want now before it's taken away from you your first few years at your first job. Number 2, make sure you master the software that you choose to use. Now, there's a lot of softwares that you can choose and that you can pick. And I'm going to talk about a couple of those. But what software you use isn't as important as whether or not you've mastered the software that you know. You need to pick one program and learn every single feature that program has to offer. Don't just get comfortable with like a specific way of animating. Make sure you know every button and every feature of that software. So you've got Adobe Flash, which is now called Adobe Animate, and a lot of people will match that up and mix that with Adobe After Effects. You've got Moho, and you've got Toon Boom, and then there's this new player, Cell Action, which is also pretty good. So you've got 4 big players in the animation software environment. So pick yours. If you want to learn the right program right away, right now, and you want to know the professional software that everyone's going to be using, it's better to just jump up and use the program, right? It's better to learn the program first and not have to worry about the other ones. And that program is Toon Boom. Toon Boom is also the hardest program to learn. There's not a lot of material available on the internet to learn Toon Boom for free, and Toon Boom costs $73 a month. So Toon Boom is the program to learn, and I would encourage you to go with Toon Boom first because that's the professional industry standard, but it's a learning curve and it's the most expensive. And so if that's not your option, my second suggestion would be to go with Moho, but it also depends on what career, what trajectory you plan on taking. Moho is the cheapest of the softwares. You can get the newest version, standalone version for $200. So you're not paying like, $75 a month. You're paying one time $75. If you get the last version, you can get it for like $50, and there's nothing wrong with the last version, and then you could just work on that so I would suggest to any new animators who are not sure if that's what program to pick or what trajectory to take, I would suggest Moho, because it has so many features that Toon Boom also has. It's very competitive, and if you learn Toon Boom really well, I think it's really going to prepare you for the field just as much as Toon Boom would. You just would have to learn how to switch over to Toon Boom, and there is some pretty big differences, but I highly suggest Moho. It's the software I learned on. I really do not like Adobe Flash, Adobe Animate. A lot of YouTubers use it, but there's not really near as many features in Animate as there is in Moho and Toon Boom. It's super limited, but that also makes it a little easier to learn. It favors frame by frame and traditional animation a little bit more. So if you yourself are wanting to spend more time drawing characters, if you are an excellent artist and you want to focus more on going the traditional route, I would suggest going with Flash. Animate, I'm sorry. But those features are also relatively available in Moho. You can also use Photoshop or GIMP along with Moho, but yeah, I'm a Moho guy, so I'm a big fan of Moho. I mean, obviously Toon Boom's the best to go. I'm a Moho guy for beginners. Number 3, put together an awesome demo reel. A demo reel is basically just a bunch of the animations that you've worked on, the best parts of your favorite animations that you worked on, and put them in. So after you've been training yourself, so let's say that you're following the direction I've given you, and you're going to animate for 40 hours a week for 1 year. You've got to the 1 year point. Now you're ready to put together your demo reel. Or if you're in school and you've been animating while you've been in school and you've got to the 4 year point, now you're ready to start putting your demo reel together. But don't put a demo reel together if you haven't done animation outside of your student work. A demo reel is not just, here's a cute run cycle, here's a cute background, here's like a small rough animation. That's not really a demo reel. Should contain, I believe, for the animators that we're looking for. And don't forget, this is a competitive market. You've got to stand out above all the other animators. In my opinion, a demo reel should have very polished and clean animation that you've done everything on, and not just one project, but a bunch of different clips. The best of the best. Now let's talk about what to put in your cover letter. What to put in your cover letter, it actually doesn't matter. I don't read those. I don't think very many recruiters read those. I've talked to recruiters at bigger companies. They don't really care about the cover letter. They're going to go straight to your demo reel. So everything is in the demo reel. Now, one thing to include, every recruiter, including myself, when we look at your emails or your cover letters or your demo reels, the thing that we're all going to assume, if you're right out of college, is that you don't know the software. We're just going to assume that you don't know the software. So if you put one thing in your cover letter, I'd put at the very beginning of the sentence, hey, I know Toon Boom. We just put out an invitation to over 100 animators. Hey, we're looking for Toon Boom animators. Everybody said that they knew Toon Boom, but once we send the tests out, nobody freaking knows Toon Boom. So please, first of all, don't lie. But if you know Toon Boom and if you've done what I've told you to and you've studied it and you know every feature, say, hey, in your cover letter, the only thing that really matters written is say, hey, I know Toon Boom. I know how to rig in Toon Boom. I know how to use advanced rigging in Toon Boom. Be specific. Prove to me that you know what rigging is in Toon Boom. And that is what's going to get people interested in you if you specifically mention what you know how to do in the software, because that means they don't have to train you to use the software. Get what I'm saying? But now back to the demo reel. When you finish the demo reel, make sure you show it to other people. and ask them, what should I take out? We get a lot of demo reels, and when I look at the demo reels, it's always that one clip that they shouldn't have put in there that makes me think, okay, maybe we shouldn't talk to this person. We actually one time got an awesome demo reel from somebody, really strong work throughout the demo reel, but one clip caused us to not consider this particular animator. Now, why would one clip cause us not to consider the animator? Because then we assume that this person doesn't know what is good and bad. There's this desire to put everything you've done in the, like, I get that. You want to put everything you've done in your demo reel, but it's really hard for you to be critical of your own work. And if you put that one bad thing or that one okay thing or that one almost good enough thing in your demo reel, then the recruiter is going to be like, that person can't tell the difference between what's good and what's bad. And so yeah, just show off your demo reel to other people, let them be super critical, and take out anything that you might find the slightest bit questionable. All right, so now you've put in your 1 full year of full-time animation work, so you've got 1 year of experience, you've got an awesome demo reel. You're still not 100% ready because, well, at least for our company, you're not 100% ready because what I want to see next is a polished 2-minute animation where you did everything. You did the backgrounds, you did the walk cycles, you did lip sync, facial expressions, you did, some action scenes, you did everything from beginning to end. That's what I look for when we're hiring an animator. For most of our animators, when we are hiring, we are looking for someone who's been able to do everything. And not a lot of animators right out of college can do everything. Maybe one of them focused on storyboarding, or one of them focused on character design or rigging while they were in college, and that's good. You want to choose your career trajectory, you want to start picking where you're going to go, but college isn't the place to do it. Get good at everything first, and then once you get your first job, then start going that career trajectory then. You need to be good at everything because, again, this field for animators is super competitive, and you need to stand out above all of the other animators who are also graduating and competing to the 10 open jobs this year. You get what I'm saying? So be good at everything. So I'm looking for a 2-minute animation that's completely polished and finished. That also means that you need to find some audio, that you need to find like a funny idea, some voice acting. And if you are not good at those things, if you want to be an animator, you don't have to be a voice actor, or, all of that helps. But team up with someone that can do that. The best thing to do is email a YouTuber that has done a couple animations and say, hey, I'd like to do a 2-minute animation for you, totally free. Just send me some audio, and then they'll send you the audio. They would love to do that. They'll upload it on their YouTube channel. You'll get millions of views depending on which YouTuber you pick. So that's a really good way for you to get your start in animation doing that first 2-minute clip. Email us. Smashbits would love to work with you. If you're going to be doing free animation for us that we can put on our YouTube channel, heck yeah, totally on board. We might even pay you for it. But the thing is, you really need to get that 2-minute clip done first. Then at that point, you are ready to start looking for an animation job, if that 2-minute clip is good enough. But see, take that 2-minute clip, put a little bit of it in your demo reel as well. But that is the thing that we're looking for when we are hiring animators, is the demo reel plus a completed clip that we know that you've done everything now. All right, and then the last step 5, start applying to animation studios. And this is the most annoying part of the entire process, because you're going to spend the next 5 years applying to every studio across the country and maybe still not getting a job after 5 years. The thing is endurance at this point. You've got fresh animation graduates all over the country, all competing for the same jobs. And why are they going to hire you over them? Well, first of all, the difference between you and the other animation students is at this point, you have 1 year of experience. They don't. They got an animation degree, but they didn't get the 40 hours a week of nonstop animating for a whole year like you did. Second of all, you didn't stop improving yourself. A lot of animation students will, for 2 years, keep looking for animation jobs. We would get applicants from people who've been looking for a job for 2 years, and they show us student work from 2 years ago. It's like, have you not done any animation over the last 2 years? And if the answer is no, which it usually is, then you just obviously are not passionate enough or care enough about animation to really be getting a job in animation. That's the bottom line. Animate, animate, animate. You're not going to stop improving yourself over the next 5 years And that's why you are going to get the animation job and they're not. Second of all, you really need to network. This is for every field. It's all about who you know. I mean, that's going to be true in every field. And what you can do to help improve who you know is to network. Go to animation conferences and animation markets and festivals and meet people. And don't be weird when you meet recruiters or when you meet these people at these studios, other animators. It doesn't matter if they're connected in a studio somewhere somehow. It doesn't matter what their job is. Just network with them and be friends with them. Don't make it awkward. Don't like, you're not meeting them for the purpose of trying to get a job at their studio. You're meeting them to have fun and hang out. Because if they perceive you as, hey, you're just a person that wants to work at my studio, they're not going to be interested in you. But if they meet you and you're just a cool guy that's at a market that wants to hang out and go have a drink at the oldest bar in Ottawa, that is a great way for you to start making those connections, and you become friends with people, and then you stay connected with them, and then they're like, hey, dude, that guy was so cool, we need to get him at our studio. You get what I'm saying? So network, and that'll give you a bigger advantage over the other animation students. And lastly, move to a city that has animation studios. It's going to be a lot easier to get a job if you're in town. If they want to hire, or if they want to interview you, it's a lot easier if you're right there. So don't forget to consider that as well. After you've got your 1 year of experience, now don't forget that doesn't mean everything you do is going to be volunteer. You're going to be looking for a job for the next 5 years, but you can start doing small independent freelance animation and get paid. You can go to websites to find freelance work. You can email and contact different YouTubers and say, hey, I'm looking for animation work. Maybe you'll get paid $100. Maybe it'll take you a full week to do a 2-minute animation. You only get paid $100. It kind of sucks, but then your next job you might get paid $200. Now you may not be making minimum wage, but it definitely beats making nothing, animating, 40 hours a week like you did before and making nothing. That's another reason why I discourage people from going to college, because if you went to college for 4 years, now you've got your freaking student loan debt to take care of. And how the heck are you going to spend, if you want to get an animation job, you're going to have to spend the next 5 years, animating, nonstop animating and looking for jobs at an animation studio. How are you going to do that if you've got student loan debt and now you've got to go work at McDonald's 40, 50 hours a week in order to start paying back your student loan debt and to pay, to survive? It's going to get really hard there. That's another reason why I would discourage college. But don't forget, I do support college. I'd rather you go to college, but I'm just saying, practically speaking, it may not be the best idea. So doing paid freelance work on YouTube or elsewhere on the internet is a really good idea. So that way you can start making your what was a hobby into a paid hobby. Contact Smashbits. We love to hire freelance animators. We hire them all the time. We would love to hire you. Just follow the instructions that I've set out here before, and we will give you freelance work and pay you depending on your skill set and where you're at in the process, right? Another path you can take is to start your own YouTube channel. Now, YouTube is a whole nother beast of its own. You need to learn YouTube algorithms and strategies and thumbnails and how to title a video. There's all these things. I'm actually going to have another video here soon about how to become a YouTube animator, and I'm going to go over some of those things. But you also need to have, you need to be a really good comedian, a writer, voice acting, doing audio engineering. There's a lot more to just completely managing and overseeing your entire production. But if you can do that, and if you have those skill sets, you can also become a YouTube animator and get your own YouTube animation channel. Doesn't pay well. Doesn't pay well at all. Very, very few. I think there's maybe 8 successful YouTube animators right now. It's really not a good place for animators, but again, it's a heck of a lot better than not getting paid anything at all. Another really good piece of advice, I guess, is for you just to move to Canada. That's where all of the animation studios have moved to or have started because of the tax credits and incentives that I mentioned earlier. Those studios, they are hiring aggressively. It's like a completely different environment. In the United States, there are very few studios and all the animators are graduating and they can't find a job and it's super aggressive. But in Canada, it's completely the opposite. these studios are fighting for animators. When I was at the Ottawa Animation Festival, I met this young storyboard artist just out of college, and she showed me her portfolio, and it was the worst portfolio I have ever seen. It was so bad, and I saw her get hired. She got hired on the spot right out of college with like barely any experience, and she got hired to be a rigger. Like her portfolio was all storyboarding. It's just because in Canada they have a different philosophy. If a person is teachable, they will hire you, and if they perceived her to be teachable, so they hired her. So all of this stuff that I've been talking about this entire video isn't true if you're Canadian or if you're willing to move to Canada. Now the thing is, you can't get like if you're American and you want to work at a Canadian animation studio, you're not going to be able to just get a job and then move to a Canadian animation studio. It doesn't quite work that way. Maybe someday in the future it will, but the way that it works right now is you actually have to live in Canada for quite some time before you qualify for the tax credit and tax incentive. See, these Canadian studios, if they hire you, they're not going to get their tax credit or incentive off of your labor, so that's why they're not going to be interested in you. If you go to the Ottawa Animation Festival and you're trying to network with these studios and they act uninterested in you, it's not because your skill isn't good, it's just because you're not in Canada, you don't live in Canada. You need to move to Canada and live there for about a year. I think every province has different rules. You might want to look into the province that you want to move into. But you need to move into the province, and then you'll qualify yourself by living there for a certain amount of time. Then you'll be qualified for their tax incentive, and then they can get an incentive off your labor. So be prepared to move to Canada, then work at McDonald's or whatever for 6 months to a year to support yourself, and then get your job, and there you go, you've made it. You've cheated your way in by working for a very respectable studio. I do believe some of this might change if Donald Trump repeals NAFTA, which I heard may be coming up soon. A lot of the visas in Canada are dependent on our NAFTA law, so make sure you check back into that if that gets repealed in the future. Also, make sure you research which city you want to go into. There's a lot of animation studios in Toronto, Vancouver, Ottawa, and Montreal. So pick the studio set that you want to work in. Again, don't forget it's contract-based work, so you need to move to a city where you'd be comfortable, jumping around to these different studios. And my last recommendation, if you've gotten to the end of this process, is move to 3D animation. 3D animation is way less competitive in the United States. There's way more need for 3D animators, mostly because of the video game market, which is exploding. You've got mobile games, which is exploding. So there's a lot of opportunities there, and a lot of the skills do transition from 2D to 3D. So possibly do that as well. Wow, so that's everything I wanted to say. I can't believe that this video went on so long. Please make sure you hit like on the video if you feel this video helped you on your career trajectory. If I missed something, please give advice in the comments below, and make sure you read those comments for further advice. A lot of, this is just my narrow view, my narrow experience in the field so far. Other people may have widely different experience. So please add your experience in the comments below. I've got more videos on the way. I've got another video coming up on how to become a YouTube animator. I've got another video that I want to do about the different career trajectories that you can do within the field. I might do another video on breaking down the software a bit more. There's so many videos I can do. If you have an idea for a video, let me know in the comments. Say, hey, can you make a video, or can you ask questions, and maybe I'll do a question and answer video. But whatever you want to do, comments is right there. I will be reading them all, and I'll be checking back often. So thanks again for watching, and good luck, and hopefully someday we will work together.